All right, and we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
There we go, we got there. Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
And not only that, but we also founded Codename too.
So we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every single episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
Still true.
Yeah, today is our 106th episode.
And I see that you're back in the flesh.
Yeah, no, I'm not sick any longer. So you've removed the quarantine boxes from around us.
Hopefully not prematurely. But actually, I mean from wherever you went before the end of the last episode.
Oh, yes, that. Yeah, sorry about that. I hope I didn't miss anything important.
Well, you missed my end of episode joke.
Oh, good. So I didn't miss anything important.
Hey!
Anyway, we are here to not install updates Windows. We are here to answer development and design questions about Idle Champions.
However, if you do not ask any questions, you will have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of him during the end of last week's episode.
Yes, if by that you mean me just getting up and walking away without warning, then yes.
Yes, I guess at that point I'll be the one doing the one-man show.
Yeah, kind of like you did at the end of last episode.
Yeah, I guess I did. There you go, folks. You finally had a one-man show.
Can't say we never deliver.
Oh, it's true. Now I get the episode title.
Aha!
As always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous episodes that we will get to now that we didn't get to before. But while we're waiting for new questions to come in, we will... Wow, I got that just all backwards. At any rate, I have some updates of items that we flagged to get looked at by the dev team, and I will go over those while we wait for new questions to come in. And let me see, I have it here somewhere. Yes, I do. And I do have some items that did get completed on the list today, which is great. Starting off with, we do have now the current day and how many days it is out of on the season dialogue. We did enlarge the click region on some of the dialogues like Trials and Modron for mobile specifically, so those are easier to close, especially on devices with rounded corners. The blacksmith contract limit use has been increased to 1,000. Not the bounty contract limit yet. There was still some issues around that causing a lot of delay, but I know Peter's working on fixing that. We did get in a claim all rewards button for the season reward track. So now you don't have to claim them individually if a number have stacked up. We also adjusted the season bonus reward button claim to claim up to a max of 5 instead of just 1 and/or 5 if there's 1 to 5 available. So it will claim up to 5, as you can just click that. Yeah, okay, those are the items that got changed. We still have a handful of items that are in progress, and then another handful of items that we added to the list from last week's episode. So this list didn't get any shorter, even though we pulled off about 6 items there. First being that the familiars on potion are missed by recalls. That still needs to be fixed. Adding a timer onto the current run so you can see how long it has taken. Increasing the bounty contract use limit. As I mentioned just a moment ago, so when you click it, Peter was testing with 1,000 and it locked up the game pretty hard. So it's making some adjustments so that that doesn't happen. On the patron summary, I want to show the total available variants in addition to the ones you've completed so that you know how many you've completed out of. We're going to add a sort to the champion selection dialog for filtering in the shop because that one appears to be sort of in a random order. A tooltip for potions so you can see what is active without going into the potion dialog. Sort and filter on the quest tracker. The ability to open, buy, and show chests for a particular champion from the champion sheet. Looking into the mobile minimized view, that's where it would go from full screen app to a minimized one in mobile. We want to see if that's something that's possible. And then let's see, stuff that was added from last week. We got here. I know you did this when I was out. Let's see, an added hint text to Egbert's specialization choices with the number of atonement points he currently has.
Yeah.
Add attack types and roles to the bench slot in formation champion hover pop-up.
Yeah.
Order the outgoing effects list so that the order remains consistent. Apparently the report we saw last week was that it changes during play, and then if you refresh or change parties, the order changes, so that shouldn't be happening. Mm-hmm. We want to add enemy health and damage to the kill log. That is control K, is that? Or D, 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 L, 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 kill, control kill?
Control L, log, control L, L, L.
Yes, that's the one. The one that nobody knows about
I
except
think we
that,
didn't want to make it control K.
After I said that, you know, okay. Yeah. Add an option to always show all bench slots, even if you don't have enough gold, so they don't show in one by one. And then fix the campaign map possession, resetting when changing patrons.
Yes.
This is a very long list, Justin. Yes. We can get through this. All right. Moving on to leftover questions from last week. Starting with this one here from Moses Karanda. Can you give us any sneak peeks towards any major features that are non-champion coming soon? Did we prepare a sneak peek?
Well, I haven't prepared any sneak peeks, but there are a couple of things coming sort of in the first half of next year that are going to be pretty cool features. The first one that we're really hoping to get out pretty early on in the year, within the first 3 months or so, is the collections dialogue that we've been talking about quite a bit. And that collections dialogue will come with some other stuff that maybe folks aren't necessarily expecting to come with it. So we're very excited about that. We've got a meeting right after this to look at the latest
Another
version
one?
of that. Yeah. We'll keep having them until it's done. And then we've been discussing a lot of little changes to events that we're planning to put out in the first half of the year as well. That will hopefully address some of the stuff around sort of gearing up older champions and some of the time gate concerns and that sort of stuff. So yeah, those are kind of the two big things that we're
feels like a major spoiler there, Justin.
For next year. I won't really. I mean, we'll talk more about each of those things as we get closer. Probably in February we'll start to talk about them. But you asked the question, so I answered it.
Perfect. Okay, next question. This one is from Countenaro. That's what I'm going with. For someone new to the D&D universe like me, do the different affiliations have crests? And if so, can they be shown in the character portraits? It would make my life easier when looking for champions from the same affiliation.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting idea.
Now, I guess the first question is, do they have crests?
I mean,
some of them maybe?
Some of them have logos and some of them don't. I don't know that there's like a consistent kind of sizing to them, so that might be a little bit challenging. You can, one thing you can do that we don't really call out that you might not have found yet is you can, in the champion profile, if you hover your mouse over the affiliation, it will actually tell you the names of the other members of that affiliation. Not super helpful, I guess, if you don't know what they look like or what seats they're in, but at least it will show that there. So you can, maybe find them.
And that isn't something that we put into the collections dialogue
Into the
yet, is it?
collections
It's not
dialogue,
worse.
no, it's something we should probably let people filter by as affiliation. If it's not already there, we can check right after this meeting.
It's true. That could be a valuable thing to add.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
That's an interesting question here from Lexinam. This isn't about Idle Champions, so that's interesting, but I guess we'll still answer it here because this is Dev Insights, not Idle Champions Dev Insights. Oh, no,
Wait, it says right there.
Says Idle
Yep.
Champions right there. Okay. We'll answer it anyway. So this is from Lexinam, who says, I don't know if this is the right place for asking. I guess technically it's not, but that's fine. But is there a chance to have Bushwhacker 2 on Steam, or will it forever be on the current platform?
Yeah. I think that one is one that, unless for some reason Steam made it easier or more available to just have an unlimited number of products on it, that we wouldn't I'm not. It's sort of a mixed understanding, because I think there are some options for getting additional products onto Steam or different routes, but I think Steam was pretty closed about that in terms of.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think for me the bigger thing is just Bushwhacker 2 is like it's a 10-plus-year-old game. A lot of the mechanics in the game are not really like modern mechanics, like the kind of energy systems that exist in it.
Yeah.
That kind of limited play is not really something that I think would really like.
I mean, there's
mesh
that problem
well
too.
with current players, especially on Steam. It's not something you expect to find on Steam.
It is one of those things where we would potentially consider it if it was just a freebie, like we were allowed to just put up the pieces, but I don't think we can even do that. I think that's not something that Steam lets you do.
Yeah, I guess the TLDR is I would not expect to see Bushwhacker 2 on Steam anytime soon. But you can go to codenameentertainment.com
and play it there.
and play it there.
Or download it. And then
Download
play
it?
Yeah.
And then, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can't play it in
You
the
can't
browser.
play it in the
anymore.
browser any longer, yeah.
Flash. And the next question here is from Phoenixian Ultimatum, who asks, any interest in adding a way to open multiple chests from codes at once? Or I guess to redeem multiple codes at once. It's a bit tedious to redeem multiple Electrum chests back to back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting question. Certainly, it's a question that's come up every now and then. I don't know that we've sort of wanted to promote in the interface the ability to just paste in a list of 100 chests. Because certainly they weren't intended to be given out at a rate that you would need to have, like, a large text field that you could put in a dozen codes for. Now I understand that if you get behind on them a little, you go to the Discord and you might have quite a few. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's something that we would prioritize putting into the interface. I don't know. What do you think, Justin?
I mean, it's one of those tough things because like it does exist outside of the game.
Yeah, there are some auto code
tools that can automatically do that. And I think people do kind of feel like they're missing out if there's free codes that they're not getting. Oh, hey, now yours is trying to update.
Let's not do a Windows update.
Don't hit restart now. Don't hit restart now. Okay. So it's one of those things where like the tool exists. A lot of players are going to be using that tool. Does it make sense to just bring that tool into the game at some point? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it.
Yeah. Not a high priority item in my mind, but
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On to the new questions from today. First out of the gate, unsurprisingly, is from Library of Akasha.
Gasp.
Who would like to know, why doesn't event achievements have earned and in progress? I also hate having to collapse all every time I look at my achievements. Please make the game remember that it was already collapsed the last time I looked at my achievements.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why event achievements don't have the earned or in progress toggle. It feels like something they should have, as well as the collapse all being remembered. Like both these things sound like things they should have. I will say that achievements is something that we are pulling into the collections dialogue when that comes out. So we will we'll be looking at that right after this, and that could be something we could flag to make sure that we've got in the new version.
Event achievements earned and in progress. Was that in a different spot in the dialogue? I don't remember what it looks like. Okay.
Yeah. The next question here is from Tim Philas, and it looks like there's a bunch of people asking these questions.
Commented it blue for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you about it just so you can say we'll look into it.
I think Peter was like working on a critical fix for Xbox this morning.
You do have an answer for it. So this
well,
is
I didn't get the details. Only he was working on it.
Who asks says Xbox console version of Idle Champions keeps freezing, and I cannot even open a support ticket. Any chance for an update or patch? Because I cannot play any free plays nor open any chests while the game is frozen.
Well, let me actually just see if I can get some exact details from Peter. But I do know that he abstained even from coming to our morning meeting this morning because he was trying to get an Xbox build out with a fix of some sort in it. So I'll just ping him and see if he can provide some details on that so that I can pass them on.
Great. So we'll try and get some real-time information for you on that, Tim Philas. And the next question here is from Meow. I will ask it.
You can ask yourself
of myself.
Well, I'm asking Peter. All right.
It's from Meow Arf Moo, and they say, "Hey Justin." Well, they don't say that, but I'm saying that. When we convert favor, can we get the various favor tabs opened so we can click on them to see where we need to invest the favor? I know established folks will have everything unlocked, but until then, sometimes it's easy to forget which section to dump favor into to get the next blessing. So to answer this, good question.
The table
for myself. To answer this, I think that I think we only lock you onto that dialogue when you're being forced to convert. Because I think about a week after, generally you can start to convert. We force you to convert. And so I think that it only locks you out when you're being forced. So if you bring up the dialogue before you're being forced to convert, like an event favor, you should be able to click over the other ones to kind of quickly check. But then I think we do lock you on that one when you're being forced, because we really at that point we just want you to convert your favor. We're like, you've had a week, just get to it and convert your favor. And so I don't know how we could really. We'd have to like let you click to other tabs in the favor dialogue without letting you close the favor dialogue. And I think I don't know, it feels like we start to get into some weird cases where there could be some confusion of like, okay, you've clicked over to another tab in the dialogue and now you're trying to close the dialogue, but you can't close it and you're not sure why, and then you like just close the game and then
the dialogue
reload
comes back
it
up.
and it comes back up anyway, and you're like, oh yeah, I was supposed to convert. It feels like it could lead to some confusion. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what to do about that. It's possible we could put some more information on the dialogue to be like X out of Y blessings earned, or like the cost of the cost of the next cheapest blessing on that one, or something like that. Maybe some tooltip stuff. Yeah,
it's a good question. I just didn't even realize that we stick you on that tab and you can't move off of it. But
yeah, because we're like, your time is up.
Yeah.
You've had a week.
Is that actually a week after the event is ended? Is that when that gets
It's
forced?
a week after the event's ended, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or like, after you close the time gate, I think we also force it, and that sort of stuff. And after Tiamat ends, we also force it. Yeah, I think this is something we can think about, but nothing's jumping out at me as an easy fix.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And actually, come to think of it, I've actually run into that myself, where I've been in a dialogue pops up, it's forced, I'm like, shoot, which one of these was I working on?
It's totally
that
understandable.
So
I usually just find the one with the lowest number and convert to that one. It's probably not the best strategy, because it's probably easier to get more favor with the lowest one than to get more favor with your highest one. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Anywho.
Next question. This is from Alpha Crawl. and they would like to know what did happen at the end of last stream. Was that big scheme to not have to listen to the joke at the end of the show, or was that a big scheme?
I wish it was. I wish it were so. No, there was a very loud crashing noise from my house, from upstairs, and some minor injuries. Well, maybe not minor injuries, some moderate injuries, and I had to go help out with that. So there was lots of screaming, crying, and bad noises. My apologies for ducking away, but that was one of those situations where I had to go help out.
But in fullness of information, no one is. Everyone is fine. Everyone is fine. Right? Everyone is fine. Let's.
No one's dead, at least. No bones were broken. But yeah, there's some recovery. There's been some recovery time over the last week.
Yes. Okay. Next question. This is from Girathonus. Close enough. These names are hard. Thank you for reworking the patron quests. However, please stop making Zerial patron quests where one quest needs Fen and another needs Ashara, who are in the same seat. Perhaps change the Fen DPS quest to a Hitch quest or Hitch DPS quest instead.
Yeah, I think we've heard this this issue enough that I think there's probably some changes we can make. Our intention with the patron challenges is that you can do them fairly quickly, and maybe having situations where you have to get to area 500 with one champion, or do 500 areas with one champion and 1,000 areas with a different champion who's in the same slot might not be the best. And so maybe we can look at making some minor adjustments there to make that a little bit easier, to avoid some of those situations where you get some conflicting challenges.
Okay. No update from Peter so far. Okay, next question. This is from Mao Arf. Mao
Arf. That's the
chairman.
Chinese version.
Meow Arfmu would like to know who came up with the idea to do away with the daily FOMO quests. Well, to whomever made this a reality, or that a reality, my wife sends her most sincere regards, as I am now able to play family longer. My level 43 dad, fixer of things, breaker of other things.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about sort of our reasoning around dropping the daily quests, and we're definitely seeing some changes in behavior, which I think is well, hopefully they're good changes in behavior, but certainly, I mean, these data points like this are good. This is kind of what we were going for. We want people to be able to both play the game and take care of their children. It's a very low bar for what we want to be able to do. It's like, at the very least, you should be able to play the game and at least feed yourself enough to get to the next day without dying. So, yeah.
We have a serious problem if, it's an issue that's coming up.
Very happy to hear that change is working out for you. Yeah, I think our plan is to continue that in Season 7 and then kind of see if there's any adjustments after that.
Yes. And I think the question of who came up with that idea, that was your idea, wasn't it?
Yes.
You can take responsibility for that?
Sure, I'll take. I was the one that initially proposed that, but everyone else said okay. So it's for people who don't like the fact that.
Oh, I see. Removed, I see. You're just trying to stand out of the line of fire. That's right. I suggested it, but no one said anything about it. I assumed that was tacit approval. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. This one is from the 22 Dragons, and believe it or not, if you were here for last episode, you'll know this is a question about Baldur's Gate 3. The question is, Bing Bong was actually added to Baldur's Gate 3 with Shadowheart mentioning it by name. Will this make it more likely to see him in Idle Champions as a familiar?
Possibly. We'd have to see who owns Bing Bong. Who owns the rights to them. If it's something that's by Larian and through Wizards, then it's certainly super easy to put in. If it's something that is owned by the guys at High Rollers, that makes it
a little different,
only moderately more challenging. We have a good relationship with Mark Humus and the guys over there, so I could see that being something we add to the game at some point. Yeah,
fair enough. Here's a question directed right at you, Justin.
Mm.
It doesn't say, but it's direct. It's a
No, it's
squarely
purple.
directed.
It's
Yeah,
purple.
it's
You could
squarely
answer
directed
it.
at you. This is from Garwar. Will we be getting a 2023 recap blog with a 2024 preview in it? Will we, Justin?
I mean, I'd like to say yes, but I don't actually know where I would find the time to do that. So probably not. I think we will be. There are some big changes coming to some systems, like I kind of teased at before, in early 2024. So I would say we're probably going to do some big blog posts about that. One of those might be written by me and kind of include a preview of what's coming in the updated systems. So yeah, I would say probably not a 2023 recap blog. I'm still working on the 2021 one. Which one am I working on? So yeah, I don't want to promise something that I might not deliver.
Okay.
Next question here is also from Meow Arfmoo.
Ah, yes.
They ask, are there any plans to make a simplified view for navigating the adventure map, like the campaign map? A simple list of each area and the adventures within, etc., would help us eternal noobs.
A simplified view for navigating the adventure map. So sort of the request would be like a map to take the map away,
Like a list.
and just have a list of
Yeah.
areas and what's in them.
Yeah.
Certainly that's not something that we've discussed. Funny thing I would mention is actually I'm not sure why, but I was thinking about this from a design perspective the other day, and that actually our map is really just an obfuscation of a list with items on it in order.
Yeah.
But no, we don't currently have any plans to sort of make a simplified view of that. I don't even think that's sort of listed out in a way really in the collections dialogue either.
I mean, there are all the adventures in the collections dialogue are listed like in a list. So
Yeah, but they're not sort of by area location, are they?
No. They're in order of play.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I think it probably falls into one of those categories of questions that we would consider if it was something that was sort of being requested in general from the player base at large. But it seems like kind of it hasn't been something that's come up previously, and it kind of does take away from the map. But yeah, certainly not something that we've been talking about. Okay, next question. This one is from OG17. Shadowheart guidance spec buffs the bud setting character, so that character is removed from the formation. She'll just keep throwing buffs on them on the bench. Oh, okay, that's clever. Bug report says this is intended. Wouldn't it make way more sense to have her buff the current highest damage character in the formation?
Yeah, so the reason we did this is just for simplicity's sake. Sort of the current highest damage character in the formation is one of those things where it's until each character has kind of hit something, we're not really 100% sure what that is. And the bud setting character is the one that we know for sure did the most amount of damage with a hit recently. The other reason we don't do this is we don't really want players to necessarily be swapping their formations around sort of live, trying to get stacks of things onto certain characters. This is way back in the day. I don't know if you remember Barrowin, hammer stacking and that sort of stuff in the day, where there was kind of a mini game players could play where they remove champion at a certain time and then add the champion back in and then remove them and add them back in and get a bunch of stacks of something and then spend them. And so I think it's it's one of those things where it's done this way to not encourage some out of bounds behavior.
Yeah.
And it makes things more easy to understand too. Like if we said it applies to your highest damage character, and you might not necessarily know who that is at a glance, whereas bud setting character is right there in the bud mouse over.
All right. Next question. This one is from Garwar. And the question is Zorbu still on the radar to get unnerfed? He lost his upgrades for Know Your Enemy's multiplier, and for some people, it has been a big issue.
Yes, yeah, this is still on my list to look at those upgrades and make sure they get put back in there. It was not intentional to remove those upgrades or to impact his power in that way. Next question here is from OG17. I highlighted this. I highlighted in purple, but I think it's good for you.
Yeah,
Dave.
no, I'm familiar with this.
There's at least one variant, Xerxes' not that type of helm, that puts hats on familiars, which mostly works better than expected. It's true.
What's that? Oh,
Can there be a way to activate this technology outside of the variant?
that is a good question. So the hats, of course.
Story time.
Yes,
Where does hats come from?
The hats were initially an April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
And it was also actually an April Fool's joke that Peter and I did internally and didn't tell marketing about, which didn't go over as well as we'd hoped on that front, because it turns out they had been telling people that we weren't going to be doing anything for April Fools, and so it came as a bit of a surprise to them among everyone else. That said, I know that next year that we did it, I know, so actually for the first one, I actually ended up writing a little tool that put every single familiar up on the screen, and then I was able to move the hat into the correct spot approximately and change the rotation and size so that it looked pretty decent, and then save that all out. So I literally had this screen that had like every familiar up on it, and I was just moving the hats around. But I know for the second iteration, and maybe it was, I think we did it again as did we do it as another April Fool's? I know we did it again with the variant.
I don't remember.
But I know for this one, I know Stefan went in and made some adjustments to that, adjustments to that system, so that I think it looks for the topmost element on the familiar and attaches the hat to that so that it animates properly, which is kind of a sort of a neat approach to solving that particular problem. Yeah. So the hats are lots of fun. I'll go with that. Would we allow it to be turned on outside of that? So part of me feels like that would make the variant and the April Fool's joke less special if you could just turn it on. So with that in mind, I'd probably lean away from doing that.
We need a hat potion.
Yeah.
That we can just kind of...
But it does feel like maybe a special item could do that. Yeah. Sort of
something temporary. Right?
Yeah.
It used to be temporary. It can't just be an option. You could just
turn on and off. Yeah, that would be my take. I wouldn't want to make it an option because I think it would diminish the fun of the when it did happen. That'd be my
So it looks like it's time for our world famous gold chest giveaway. I don't know if you recall, we do these giveaways every week.
Do we?
Yeah, of 42 chests and
of any type.
Of any type, yes, and you can go search for
some sort of element
now.
Okay.
But the way it works is very, very shortly there will be a keyword in chat. All you have to do is type that keyword in, or if you're smart, copy and paste that keyword so you don't typo it, and you'll be entered in for a chance to win chests of your choice. If you win, you get to pick a type of chest that exists in the game, and you get 42 of those chests just added to your account, like magic.
Can they be buttercream chests?
They could be. If we have buttercream chests in the game, yes, they can.
What about meringue chests?
Meringue chests, yes. These are funny elements. I don't remember seeing these
whipped cream chests.
Yeah.
Can we have cream cheese chests?
Cream cheese chests would be delicious. I would love some cream cheese chests.
To go with your powdered sugar chest.
Yeah. Ooh, nice cream cheese icing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I might have searched for the wrong thing.
You tried to type for search for periodic table, and you accidentally typed types of frosting.
Yeah, instead I got 17 types of frosting explained.
Ah, excellent. Okie doke. So yeah, good luck to everyone on that giveaway, and let's move on to the next question.
Fair enough. Let's see. This next question is from Niscus. Good day. Would you mind removing the artificial kill switch whose effect activates at area 1952? It's not because it impedes your progressing, but it's because the nuisance of having to babysit the party after reaching that area. Thanks in advance.
Yeah, so I think we'll probably just move that kill switch up when we eventually increase the max area, which I think is something that's probably going to come sooner rather than later. We're starting to see more and more people kind of pushing towards 2000s with max level legendaries and supercharged Modron's cores and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's it's probably something that will move along with the cap, and rather than get rid of it entirely.
All right, I did just get a message from Peter.
Here's an update on the Xbox question.
That's right.
Yeah.
He says that the fix for Zorbu's feet not working properly with Korth was somehow causing a crash on Xbox. The fix has been reverted in data for the time being, and it seems to have resolved the issue while they explore other fixes.
Right.
So there was a crash on Xbox. It should no longer be crashing, and a proper fix should be coming out for it soon, I assume.
So if you still have the game open, if you just force close it and reload, that should make it grab the updated data. And
it sounds like the current fix, though, would mean that whatever the Zorbu's feet will still not be properly working with Korth, but at least your game won't crash.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's probably
trade. You can make that trade. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Good trade.
Okay.
Excuse me. I don't have a mute switch because
we're sharing it here.
if I were to mute my mic, you'd still hear me on Dave's.
Anyway, we need a big.
I apologize for the coughing.
Okay. Next question. This one is from the 22 Dragons, asking, with the success of Warduck, when will we get a disturbingly beefy bodybuilder Bird Strong skin?
Oh man,
Bird Strong.
I am highlighting this and forwarding this directly to the art team. We're just gonna go right around all the production and just get one done. It's funny actually because the Warduck skin came out of someone mentioned we're releasing Warduke, and someone mentioned Warduck, and then I think Ivy drew like a Warduck kind of skin, and then someone else drew one, and then I traced it really poorly, and then it just kind of became this kind of joke, which obviously it happened in the community as well. It's a very obvious joke.
Yes.
And so I'm really glad that we finally got a chance to actually do a Warduck skin, because it's hilarious. And I think a Bird Strong skin would be also hilarious.
It keeps asking about it. All right.
Apparently, Mars is doing.
Monster. Okay.
Niskix has our next question. Or Niskix has our next question, and they say, "Wait, what? Are there Idle Champions mouse mats out there?
No.
How can I get one?
Definitely not a thing. No.
Over there? Is that?
There we go.
So I guess technically, yes, there are Idle Champions mouse mats.
Yeah. That's a good question. These were a limited run.
Yeah, I mean we're not. I don't think
we're not allowed to sell merchandise.
Our license doesn't include being able to sell merchandise with the game stuff on it. So I think we printed a bunch for ourselves, and maybe we occasionally.
There's been some occasional given away. Yep.
Yeah,
I think so.
Shirts and stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any more of these, or
the most mats we haven't had any new. I think we might have one or two.
Yeah. On
the sort of our merch stock, but otherwise that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I personally, I don't use mouse pads anymore. When I was super young, I used mouse pads, and I haven't used a mouse pad or a mouse mat in a very long time. I don't know why.
That's a good question.
I don't know. Yeah.
They're pretty popular, especially the large ones. I've got one on my desk that's the full size.
Yeah. Makes everything a little bit softer on your delicate wrists.
Keeps your desk clean, sort of.
It
protects the desk from all of the things you might put on it.
The surface of the desk. So the surface of the mouse mat gets dirty instead.
Oh, I like it. Okay, next question.
Next question is from Lake Titi, who asks, Any chance we could have a setting in the motor automation settings to have only a set number of resets instead of just running indefinitely?
The Modron automation settings.
Someday we're gonna have to beef these up and just.
I think you'll have to put a little scripting language in there. You can write like a config
you
file
can
for your,
write some
you know,
Lua
I
in
think
there.
just in JSON. I think it would be, I don't know, a little config file for your Modron.
Yeah.
And you can tell it what potions to use at what areas, and you can tell it what area to reset on. You can tell it to loop 4 times and then restart.
Chat's gonna be like, oh yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't
Wars
totally
to be
joking about it. It did actually sound like a good idea.
Doesn't sound like a good idea. It sounds like a little bit of work.
Well, I mean, someone on like one of those community pages can write a generator for it, and you paste it into the. Now I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, I think sort of a more serious answer is that that dialogue does need some work, and the options in there it would be nice to have a lot more options on the Modron automation. It's something that certainly we've talked about before, and I don't think we've really had an opportunity to prioritize getting fixes in for that.
I know we've also talked about like having like potion loadouts. And then being able to set like at this level use this potion loadout, this level use this potion loadout, and
yeah, and on some degree, the potion having familiars on it sort of helped with that, because that meant that they could activate a set of potions for your run that were not quite as straightforward or simple as or not quite as limited as just like, hey, activate one of these at the beginning and then it runs out after 10 minutes or something like that. But yeah, definitely that one is on the list to get some love at some point, but it definitely hasn't been able to be prioritized yet.
What he's saying in chat, did anyone count how many times Dave should have knocked the goblet over? I guess the
what do we got?
Yeah, there's a goblet right by your arm there. Don't do it. Don't knock it over. Oh no.
All right. Next question. Any word on the opt-out for auto-claim season rewards at the end for gearless accounts? This is being asked by Emote.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been any progress on this. I know we mentioned it to Peter. I can highlight it in yellow. It's one of those things where I think it gets pushed pretty low down on the priority list, simply because it is something that is
affects so few players.
Niche, right? But yeah, I mean, I'll ask Peter about it and see if he thinks it'll be a super simple solution.
Okay, next question. This is from Rough Rider 1995. Can you please focus on background stacking champs so they have a value to use in background parties? In addition to freely, Daub also doesn't track in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those things we talk about this on almost every episode, where the background progress does sort of an approximation of a run. We run effectively like 60 seconds or something like that in a couple of areas, kind of as you go. And so since it doesn't do a full simulation, a lot of those things that normally stack in the background or stack up as you complete areas don't necessarily get stacked. I know I imagine we send the kind of area completed tag, so like things that stack on a per area basis get done, but things that stack as you kill monsters in areas wouldn't necessarily get tracked without
it's sort of a
shim in there.
Jump forward, attempt to progress. If you complete, jump forward again, like 5, 10 areas. Oh, it has actually quite a few areas. It's like 25 it does a pretty large jump. And then it checks, and if it succeeds, then it goes again. If it doesn't succeed, it starts going backwards until it does succeed.
This is the case where the TLDRs, we have to do this on kind of a case-by-case basis. So if there are sort of champions that are super important to you that they track in the background, please let us know which ones those are, and that'll help us kind of triage our time in terms of
Freely and Daub. Justin.
Freely and Daub. I've highlighted those ones, and we'll start by looking at those, and see where we go from there.
All right.
Next question here is from the 22 Dragons. Apparently my mic needs to be checked. I sound like I'm in a tin hole. Does this thing like turn off or something? It's on. I don't know. Next question here is from the 22
you're in
Dragons.
a tin hole.
You want to just check some stuff? Like, look, I'm right there. You're right there.
Seem pretty good. There are.
It seems like when we talk, we go. Well, I don't go quite as high as you do, but I don't know.
I mean, does that sound any better?
I don't know. You tell me,
Oh,
sir.
the chat will tell us.
I'm wearing a pot on my head. Wait, am I in a tin hole or wearing a tin pot? I don't understand.
He's understandable, just not great. I mean, that's normal for... I mean...
Ouch. All right, well...
I don't know if that sounds any better.
Let's
People
just
can tell
continue
us.
on. As long as people can kind of hear me, it's fine. Well, I mean, ideally, if everyone can...
Yeah,
You know what?
I got it.
We'll try and fix it. The 22 Dragons asks, couldn't you make an option for mobile that enlarges all buttons, like the ones to open chests or to open parties? It would be great on phones.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a really tricky problem with the UI layout because oftentimes there actually isn't space to make the UI elements larger. The same kind of falls into the category of like text or any place where there are things that would be more that are small on a small screen, just because we pack so much stuff into the UI and we design for a particular sort of scale and resolution. I mean, part of the reason why when you open the phone version, it gives that warning that says, "Hey, this is not designed for small screens," is because it wasn't designed for small screens. It just ended up being rolled out due to, well, I'm not going to tell that story right now, but it was never intended to be on phones. Tablets was kind of the end target for that, and we did, for as far as a lot of the UI design go, work for I think a minimum of like a PC screen size with 720p, and so some of the mobile buttons are a little bit fiddly, but typically they are workable. Unfortunately, if we tried to enlarge, there are limitations to how much we can enlarge things without just having things start to overlap with each other, and that just becomes a problem in and of itself. Because you make the button bigger, and now suddenly you've got less space for the text that's next to it, and you go to make the text, like it cascades. It's kind of a tricky problem. All right, next question. This is from Max I. Kubert. Would you consider limiting mini games to high score mode, meaning you only need to do it right once?
Yeah, so I imagine this is talking about mainly the Narak Ultimate minigame. And to be fair, we do part of the stuff that comes out of that is a kind of high score. The part of that buffs Narak's main buffing ability is based on the highest number that you've had at any point, and then Stunning Strike, of course, is based off of the current number that you have. So there's a little bit of mixing there. It's possible that in a sort of secondary pass of Narak, we could potentially change the Stunning Strike to use the max. But then you get into the situation where there's like no point in actually even doing the mini game down the road. And kind of, I think our intention for it is, you can play it once early on or twice early on to get a high score in that run. And then if you get to your wall and you need that extra damage from the Stunning Strike debuffs, then you could play it again. So it's kind of 2 or 3 times per run. Not necessarily something that you need to keep up throughout your run, because obviously as you're pushing towards your wall, that extra damage, the extra effect from that, doesn't really do anything if you're already one-shotting characters with your main DPS champions.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting one because when we were discussing this last week, the thought had occurred to me that maybe an option was to have it so that you do it once and then it holds it, like that's you've succeeded it. Mm-hmm. But it didn't. I didn't mention it at the time, and it didn't really seem like it solves the problem. Like you might as well not have the game at all, I guess, if it holds it. And then if it's per run, then I think that might be better, but still, yeah, it's a tricky balance.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it was an interesting experiment to do, and obviously it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So
it may have just been a case that was, as you say, it was an experiment, an attempt to make sort of the character have an interesting feature, and maybe that's just not an avenue that has shown a lot of potential.
It's not something that we're going to do again without quite a bit of changes and how we're approaching it. Yeah,
and it definitely had other sort of. It sounds like the other issue, of course, would be like active party, high, like you're quite far in, lots of monsters. You got a bunch of speed potions going. The game lags out. You can't hit the
There's lots of issues with it.
Okay.
Next question here is from a Spilla357 who asks, can we get the time to expire added to the quest/challenge tracker? Something like 1 day or 2 days or 3 hours, etc. Also, can we get a flag or an option to automatically add new challenges to the quest tracker?
That's an interesting idea.
When new patron challenges drop on Monday, they just automatically get added. Same with quests on.
Yeah, I mean, like certainly the first portion, showing the time to expire for daily quests or for something that is
patron challenges would be the only ones right now that.
Oh, that's right. You took out. What am I saying? What am I saying? Daily quests. Oh, you took them out.
We talked about that earlier in the stream.
Yes, yeah, something that says they're going to expire if they're going to expire. I mean, anything that has an expiry from a quest standpoint, if it's in the log you're tracking, it should tell you, hey, you got 20 minutes to finish this.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. An option to automatically add new challenges. Is that something that would easily be flaggable?
Possibly.
I'm just wondering if it's sort of like it would add every single one of them rather than like category, like.
Yeah, it's one of those challenges where like it'd probably be easiest to set up is like just always have these challenges in there, but then if you go in and try and unflag one, then it would probably automatically re-add
just put it back in, so it needs to be.
Yeah, because the game doesn't necessarily know when sort of challenges were just added versus when they've been there for a little while, so. I don't know. There are some things I will say with the quest tracker and sort of the quest system in general. There are some things that design's been looking at lately about how we can improve some of that stuff. So I think we will get a chance in the next little bit to sort of take another pass on some of that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea for adding them automatically. But I do think, as you say, it's not quite as straightforward as.
As is often the case. There's a lot of really good ideas, but they're not super trivial to add.
Yeah, but I do like the time to expire. I like that bit. I'm adding that.
Sure, well, we can add that one.
Okay.
Next question is from Darleon86, who asks, will there be any farm/grind/stay at level mode where the formation will not progress in the background? And I guess the relevance here is, I think, right now, like just formations just progress in the background.
Yeah, auto progress is always turned on for offline progress, which includes background progress.
Yeah.
And this is primarily because auto progress will accidentally get turned off. Or like, you won't notice that it's been turned off if you would hit a wall and you lost and been knocked back one. Potentially, you don't want to have to go in and turn that back on. It just became a case, like we used to get quite a few reports of like, hey, my party didn't progress. This was back when we were sort of still digging through a lot of the offline progress stuff when there were other issues with it. And it was one of the false flags that we would often get. It's not really technically a false flag. Anyway, sorry, not quite what I mean.
Not a good usage of that term.
It's not quite the term I meant, but it was a red herring in terms of players would be reporting that, my party didn't progress, and then we'd check the history and be like, well, the auto progress was just off. And it was because you'd been knocked back an area, and that's when it was saved. So it seemed like the solution to that was just always have auto progress on. I could see the potential of having like one of those Modron automation settings, sort of being like, go to this level and stay at this level.
Yeah.
And you would have to purposely set that as a grind area as opposed to just sort of stopping at an area and turning off auto progress, or just having the option to turn off auto progress.
Yeah.
Because it seems like most of the time the option to turn off auto progress would not be advantageous.
Yeah, it's one of those things we talk about this a lot, where we're trying to design UI so that it works as you would expect for most situations, and can't get you into a situation where it's doing something that is negative for your gameplay, right? Like we talk about pausing the game while dialogues are up, and like we do pause the game while the shop's up for 5 minutes or so, and then we unpause it, because if you accidentally bring up the shop and then walk away, we don't want that to pause your game progress for the next couple of hours if you don't come back for a while.
Right.
So.
And it looks like in the in the chat, they are talking about there is a setting for turning off always auto progress, but that it does affect every party.
Yeah, it's
not.
a global one.
They're still complaining about your
It's
mic,
saying
Justin.
that it's that I'm talking through your mic. It's like, is this thing just not?
It's on.
Like, it's on. It's connected. See, I've got a mic pack, folks.
It's got a number.
It's got a number 11. Is that seeing?
Yeah, it's connected.
It's jumping up when I talk. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's only a couple of minutes left. So
it's fair. We should spend them debugging the audio. I think.
I'll just, yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Next question here is from Cassius335. It's a fun one. Any further thoughts on / intent toward Bushwhacker 3, Crusaders 2, or whatever CNE's next project will be?
No, I mean, we would always love to do Bushwhacker 3.
I would love to do
Bushwhacker
Bushwhacker
3 would
yeah.
be a fun project.
Yeah.
May not be the most
if only there was any financial
marketable project, but it would be a fun project.
It would be very fun. I loved working on Bushwhacker 2. That was one of my favorite games.
I don't think we've ever spoken about a Crusaders 2.
I mean, in a certain way, like
Idle Champions is Crusaders 2.
Yeah, like Idle Champions was made with a bunch of learnings from Crusaders, and obviously with also a certain license attached to it as well. But
changed the look and feel quite a bit.
Changed it a little bit, yeah. Had a little bit more dynamicness to it.
Like no, I meant the license changed the look and feel.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yes. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't think Bushwhacker 3 or Crusaders 2 are anywhere in our near future at the very least. With that said, I think there are some other we are starting to kind of experiment with some other things.
That's true.
Nothing that is anywhere near being ready for the public or anything like that. But
and that has been something that we've done ongoing for the past years.
For several years we've been playing around with stuff, but
nothing that's seen the light of day.
Just like those big AAA companies, we're gonna try a whole bunch of things, but not show people things until it's ready. We're like the Blizzard of old. We've got so many bodies on the cutting floor. I don't know.
Wait,
I think I might have mixed my metaphors there. Got so much. There's things that we've been working on that we've taken out back and shot. I don't know.
Gone old yeller on it? I know.
Yeah, you know what? The farm up island is full of dead codename projects. Wait, no,
I don't
they're
know.
not dead. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Jeez. We got one question.
What's that noise? Oh, I gotta go.
Let's do one more before we.
Let us do one more.
All right. Next question is from. Oh boy.
our favorite question.
It's customs again.
X to customs.
Oh, okay. No Nintendo jokes today. Are any of the current Baldur's Gate 3 champions, for example, Lizelle, going to receive a feat to increase their Ceramorphous stacks?
It's a good question. I think right now we're not planning on doing any feats for the existing BG3 champions, but we are thinking about adding some Ceramorphosis feats to some other champions that might be, say, Baldur's Gate adjacent, or maybe in Baldur's Gate 3, but not one of the main companions. That sort of stuff. Mar's written here. There's good reason in Baldur's Gate 3 to allow that. And yes, I am aware that you can add more worms to your or brain
spoilers
to your brain if you want to. But I think for balance reasons and for sort of how we're doing our approach to the absolute adversaries, that it's not that, something else. Anyway, I don't think we're planning on doing any more Ceramorphosis stacks for the Baldur's Gate 3 champions, but other champions may get their own personal.
You owe Zoldan an apology, Justin, for spoiling the game for them.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I feel really bad about that. In my defense, it's also spoiling the game for me because I haven't made it that far into the game yet, as much as I would like to.
All right.
Anywho.
Definitely think that is all that we have time for.
Yes, if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity. There's one more opportunity this year. We've got one more show this year, and then we are out of here until 2024.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's right. There's 1 week left in our work week, or work year.
And then we're out from
Oi.
all the way through till January. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we'll be live again at this same time next week. We'll answer some of the remaining questions, and then you guys will have one more shot. But before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was, of course, Gabe and Mars. They're the two folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and generally make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Because without you, we wouldn't get to do what we do.
And we enjoy what we do.
That's right. All right. That's enough. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Bye.
So, I quit my job as a mailman when they handed me the first letter to deliver. I looked at it and thought, this just isn't for me.